Welcome to a session on Beat Generation writings. So the term Beat Generation, it was coined by Jack Kerouac in the late 1940s. It is closely connected to the pop culture and the cultural developments in America in this certain point of time. So it describes basically Beat Generation. It describes a group of writers and artists, including Kerouac, who actually coined the term, Allen Ginsberg, William S. Burroughs, and others who actually rejected the conventional norms of American society. So basically, in simple terms, Beat Generation writers and Beat Generation thinkers were actually those intellectuals or writers who wanted to break away from the conventional settings and the conventional boundaries set in American society. So the name carries multiple meanings. It reflects the group's views on society. It talks about their concepts and their take on spirituality. It talks about personal expression. So starting with the meaning of beat in Beat Generation, it is deliberately ambiguous. There was never a proper explanation given to what Beat Generation actually was, is, or but it has several connotations, which actually highlights its philosophies and its concepts and its core ideals. So the first is it could be beaten down. Beaten down in the sense it refers to that feeling of alienation. Now these concepts it is actually emulating in the works that are part of the generation. So it's not clearly said anywhere, but it is what elevates or emulates through the works published by the Beat Generation writers. It talks about alienation, exhaustion, and being worn out by the strict norms, consumerism, and conformity of the post-World War II America. So this is the time in which this is set. And they mostly, the Beat Generation writers, when you look at their writing, you understand how they felt like an outsider and they felt disconnected from the mainstream values that actually focused on material success and social conformity. So, if you look at the concept of American dream again, there is the material success that is considered to be important. Okay, and it could also mean beatific. That is, it has got a spiritual meaning to it. It means a search for inner peace, enlightenment, and transcendence again, things that are connected to the core concepts of American ideals like transcendentalism. So many of the Beat Generation writers, they were actually influenced by the Eastern thought and Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, etc. So there is this also indicates how they tried to break away from the conventional, religions that were there in America itself. Okay, so they wanted to break out of conventional constraints. Now, beat, it could also mean the rhythm. So, the rhythms of jazz music, which played a significant role in shaping the aesthetic and ethos of the beat movement. So, jazz, what happens in jazz is there is a lot of spontaneity and improvisation in jazz music. So, it is free flowing, it is rebellious in nature. So, this also emulates Beat Generation ideals. So, what is the origin and philosophy of Beat Generation? It originated in the 1940s and it reached a peak of success in 1950s. So, this basically comes out of the dissatisfaction with the post-war American dream, the concept of American dream, which basically focused on material success and suburban conformity. So Beat Generation writers or thinkers, they focused on few other things like non-conformity and rebellion. So they were strictly against, things like work, concepts and practices like work, going to work daily, marriage, and success. So they explored a kind of unconventional lifestyle, traveling, experimenting with drugs, living in marginalized communities. These were the things that they followed. So, freedom of expression. So, they rejected traditional literary forms in favor of spontaneous prose and free verse poetry. So, if you look at the writings by Beat Generation writers, especially look at the supermarket in California, you see how there is free verse. There is no structure to it. It's just unfiltered, raw emotions that you see in the writing. Then you see spirituality and self discovery. So, as we discussed earlier, they were drawn towards many Eastern religions like Buddhism, Hindu philosophy, and other spiritual practices. So they felt like it gave a deeper meaning to their life. And then we see exploration of sexuality as well. So they were the first of those writers who openly, a few writers who openly explored diverse sexual orientations, questioning the rigid norms of their times. Now, it is also a critique of consumerism and conformism. Why? Because it focus often criticized the consumer-driven America of the 1950s, and they believed that the pursuit of material wealth led to spiritual emptiness and personal disconnection. And their writings, they reflect a longing for authenticity and freedom, often conveyed through the themes of wanderlust, isolation, and disillusionment. So this is just a context that would set your understanding of the poem Supermarket in California. Thank you.